Listen to me, there is a lot of sunshine and rainbows in gaming, and don't get me wrong, I like a rolling pasture of sunny sunshine and freedom and joy as much as the next starfish. But today, I'm here to shut off the lights and give you some experiences to keep you company in the dark. There will be horror, yes, but man cannot survive on jump scares alone, so be prepared for some leafy genre greens to eat with your spooky main course. Now serving up number 1. I'm counting to 6. Ooh. It opens with a fog-choked road and the crunch of metal. There's been an accident and now you're on foot, feeling your way towards lights that don't promise safety. The path pulls you through an empty village and up to an old house that seems ominous. From there, it's a straight shot into dread and unease. Doors to test, rooms to comb, and small interactions that nudge you deeper while you look for any exit that isn't just another threshold into darker rooms and colder air. No weapons to save you here. It's just you moving forward with only your nerves to keep you company. The presentation carries the load here. Low, smeared light bleeds through the fog outside, and inside, wet timber, flaking walls, and long sight lines make even empty hallways feel iffy. The UI stays minimal, so the camera and footsteps can do the work. The sound mix leans on creaks, distant knocks, and wind pressing the frame, leaving you bracing for whatever's about to happen. Gameplay is simple on paper. Open stuff, solve puzzles, follow the signals, but the pacing makes even those basics tense, as you must leave quote-unquote safe rooms behind and step into whatever the house has stored up next. It's a short, focused psychological horror piece that lives on atmosphere, and once the pressure is on, it's relentless until the very end. Number 2. Empty Shell. You must sign a waiver, and then you're ready to descend into a supposedly abandoned complex on a Japanese island. This is a recovery operation with details blacked out. Each run casts a new volunteer into the facility. You feel your way through steel corridors, collect whatever gear you can find, and push further into the depths. Whenever a body hits the floor, another volunteer takes their place. The layout will shuffle, and the operation continues. Same objective, different paths, hopefully better luck. The look is stark and industrial, top-down pixel art swallowed by darkness, sightlines cramped to a small pool of light, so every doorway comes with a fresh dose of tension. Metal surfaces catch just enough glow to suggest shapes, air vents moan, alarms bark, and distant knocks make rooms feel occupied, even when they aren't. Gameplay is roguelite survival horror. Scavenge weapons, ammo, and gadgets, manage a tight inventory, solve small puzzles, buy upgrades between pushes, then fight through rooms where different enemy types hunt you down. Systems and sound will turn even simple tasks from moving to shooting into constant pressure. Good luck. Number 3. Fear and Hunger 2. Termina. A night train rolls into Preheville under a sealed sky. You pick a survivor from a rough-looking roster, step onto the platform, and start threading a route through alleys, basements, and side rooms in whatever order you dare. The game is framed across 3 distinct days that advance mainly when you sleep, so important decisions must be made. Push further while resources thin out, or risk a bed to lock in progress. The combat is turn-based and anatomical. You choose where to strike, and taking a limb or the head changes what an enemy can do. Food, medicine, and tools stay scarce enough that every encounter is like a budget meeting under duress. The train area functions as your first foothold before Preheville opens up and you're turned loose with systems that punish waste and reward planning. The presentation is harsh, top-down 2D with coarse sprites and lighting that keeps vision tight, resulting in most rooms feeling like you're peering through a keyhole. Interface elements stay minimal so that the mood can consume you. Sodium yellow lamps will smear against damp walls, signage fades into soot colors, while motion is tense, just enough to make silhouettes read as threats. Sound fills the gaps with low environmental pressure, sudden metallic rattles, and door thuds that make you hesitate before crossing thresholds. Saving is done at beds scattered through the map, but many are unsafe. You'll often flip a coin to see if you actually do get to rest, which makes even sleep another gamble. The result is a mean, readable survival RPG, where routes, risk, and reward are entirely in your hands, and that might not be a good thing. Number 4 is Who's at the Door? You are in a small house with gaps in your memory and a singular set of tasks that keeps circling back. Watch the room, decide what's real, and either open the door or take your medication. Each loop asks the same question in slightly different light. Did the oddities fade, or are they still clinging to the walls? The routine repeats across a set of days, with outcomes branching as you make calls that uncover little secrets tucked around the space. Multiple endings reward replays with careful observation. The aesthetic pushes realism in a tight first-person frame. Scuffed floors, flat afternoon glare, and shadows that turn ordinary decor into second guesses. The UI keeps out of your way so you can read the room itself, while audio does the steering. Sharp door wraps, the brittle edge of cheap lighting, breath and floorboard noise that puts your focus on the most minuscule of changes. Mechanically, it's an observation and judgment loop scan for lingering hallucinations. Choose to swing the door open or medicate at the right moment, and gradually piece together what the game wants you to notice. Sessions are short, about an hour or two, more if you're chasing the endings, and the tension comes from committing to choices you can't take back. Who's at the door? Well, let's find out together. Number 5, Amnesia: The Bunker. The first thing you're handed is disorientation. A soldier waking alone beneath the earth, wounded and armed with little more than a revolver. The bunker around you is a branching warren of offices, workshops, and winding side tunnels, all feeding back to a central administrative hub. To keep moving, you'll scavenge for fuel and supplies, weigh every noise you make, and decide when to push deeper or retreat. You see, a single predator stalks these halls, and the entire space is built to make you feel exposed no matter how carefully you plan your next step. Atmosphere is tighter than a bunny's sphincter. Concrete walls glisten with moisture, shadows slice vision into fragments, and the air feels heavy even when nothing is happening. Light comes from the generator powering the grid, and from a hand-cranked flashlight whose mechanical whine and wind up betrays its own use. Every interaction breeds dread. Doors creak, chains scrape, and clutter thumps and tumbles, so even basic actions carry tension. Ammunition is sparse, turning the revolver into a tool of desperation rather than power. Saving is tied to a single lamp in the administration office, so progress is something that you'll have to bank deliberately. The game thrives on that sort of pressure. Keep the lights alive, manage your noise, and never forget that something out there, somewhere, is listening. Coming in at number 6, Slay the Princess. The cabin waits at the end of a dirt path, and the voice in your head is already arguing with you about what's about to happen in the basement. You step inside, take stock of the room, and answer back, either calmly, defiantly, or uncertain. Your every choice pushes the situation in a new direction, and the game keeps bringing you back to confront the same problem with a slightly different perspective. It's conversation, conviction, and the consequences of your choices. The look is stark. Hand-drawn black and white art with thick lines and heavy shading that crowd the frame. Even though these are still images, the performances and sound design keep the rooms feeling alive. Breath close to the mic and small noises that make the cabin feel occupied. Mechanically, it's a choice-driven visual novel with a twist. Your inner voice butts in as an unreliable narrator, and the scenes will reconfigure around your successes as well as your failures. Regardless of your opinion about visual novels such as these, I promise, if you stick with this one, it will catch you off guard in the most interesting of ways. Number 7. World of Horror. What we have here is a roguelike cosmic horror RPG set in a cursed seaside town that's spiraling into madness. You take on the role of an ordinary citizen, tasked with solving bizarre cases, while ancient gods begin to reawaken just beneath the surface of reality. Each run throws you into 5 randomized mysteries drawn from Japanese urban legends, body horror, and Lovecraftian dread, with choices, dice rolls, and events compounding into spirals of doom and despair. Basically, the town is falling apart, and you're supposed to take the subway like it's all no big deal. Aesthetically, it's pure 1-bit Macintosh horror, black and white pixel art styled after Junji Ito with sharp lines and jagged framing. Combat is turn-based and vicious, with stamina and reason forming a pair of health bars that can evaporate fast. Some encounters are text-based puzzles, and others are fights with women missing faces or things with a bit too many teeth. Most playthroughs end in madness, mutilation, or something far worse than both. So, yeah, you're welcome. Number 8. Visage. Your story takes place inside of a lived-in house. There's photos on the walls and cabinets left half ajar, with a floor plan that loops in on itself, so every hallway points back to some place you're probably not going to be too stoked to revisit. Early on, you're testing doors, finding keys, and learning the house by feel. The experience unfolds in self-contained chapters tied to this same space, each one changing how you move through it without ever handing you a means to defend yourself. Progress is bred through nerves of steel, learning the path forward by recognizing how the house is trying to steer you. The whole vibe is oppressive. Yellowed bulbs, cluttered rooms, and silhouettes that will have you triple-checking your periphery every 10 seconds. Darkness drains sanity, so you must manage it like it were a resource. Bulbs can be replaced, candles can be set to mark safe ground, a lighter buys you just a pocket of visibility, and pills will steady your head when fear starts to take you. The sound mix does as much work as the lighting. Distant TV static meshes distinctly with footsteps that probably aren't yours, and the house is always creaking and settling in unsettling ways. Interaction remains simple. Find the thing, trigger the next section, while puzzles and small tools reframe familiar corridors. Survival comes from understanding the house when it's intent on making you doubt so much of what you see. At the end of the day, it's one of the most intense horror games out there, and if you love the genre, you owe this one your time. Number 9 is Cryptmaster. You are dead. That's step 1. Step 2 is answering a booming, gleeful voice echoing throughout the crypt. A voice that won't stop talking and won't let you lie down. With a few commands, you rise, gather a party of fellow corpses, and start moving through the underworld one word at a time. Quite literally, nearly every action, as attacks, spells, interactions, exploration, relies on you typing the right word. Some you're given, most you'll discover, but the deeper you go, the more vocabulary you recover, and the more the dungeon reveals what it's been hiding. The entire game looks like it was drawn in charcoal by a lich with a flair for bold fonts. Black backgrounds, white lines, twitchy animations, and the UI that feels like it was carved into the screen rather than placed on it. Sound design keeps things cartoon-haunted, rattling bones, ghostly mutters, and celebratory screeches when you guess the right word to use. The combat plays out like a turn-based spelling bee. If you know the word, you can use the action. If not, maybe you'll uncover it from exploration or just pure guesswork. That same energy bleeds into every part of the design. Sarcastic narrations, strange companions, and a spell list that feels like a crossword puzzle with hit points. And what could be more fun than that? And number 10 is pools. Tile underfoot, water at your calves, and fluorescent light casting long reflections across the surface. This is how it starts, and it never really stops. You're free to wander the corridors of an endless aquatic facility with no direction and no clear objective. Some areas are shallow and still, others stretch wide with strange symmetry or slope into shadow. The deeper you go, the less sure you are of how you got there, or whether the space has changed behind you. Doors don't slam, lights don't flicker, tension builds through repetition that wears thin, and details that shift when you're not paying attention. The game's dread is architectural. Pale tile stretches across the walls and floors without texture variation, and the overhead fixtures buzz with uneven sharpness. And the sound design is spatial yet deliberate. Ventilation thrum, step resonance, and subtle reverb become the only cues for orientation. You don't pick up items or trigger events, you'll simply walk, descend, listen, and keep track of where you've been. Pools is a unique type of horror experience. This is not the usual thing where you have demons to fight or puzzles to solve. This is a space that just keeps on expanding until your only goal is to understand what the space is doing to your sense of what the hell a space even is. Number 11. Door in the Woods. This is a grim, tile-based survival with roguelike icing. The world is a sparse grid, and your character is the @ symbol moving square by square through a hostile forest. The opening view is a rough clearing and a few shapes that might be shelter. From there, it's scavenge or starve, pry into abandoned rooms, haul out scraps and food, and ghetto-rig basics like a club or makeshift protection. Hunger, injury, and cold press in, whilst fights are ugly enough that most feel like a bad bet. You quickly get the sense that preparation matters before approaching whatever the game is pointing you towards. The presentation sticks to essentials: low-color sprites, minimal interface, and long stretches of quiet that make a single noise change your plans. The loop teaches through consequences, so you'll experiment, fail, and restart enough that each run becomes a lesson you carry into the next attempt. One bit might be about securing calories from a boarded shack, another hinges on finding a tool that opens a new path. Progress feels good because every step trades time for safety, and nothing pretends that you're strong. If you are to escape, your little @ must first slip deeper into the dark. Number 12. Mouthwashing. This is a first-person psychological horror set aboard the freighter Tulpar after a catastrophic crash leaves 5 crew members stranded with dwindling supplies. The captain survives, mangled and mute, and the story's tension coils around what led to the wreck and how the others respond in the aftermath. You move through the ship while the narrative cuts between before and after the accident, piecing together crew dynamics, leadership failures, and a slow slide into desperation. It's built to be spoon-fed, with the emphasis on witnessing a moral collapse and assembling its cause from logs, scenes, and conversations. The presentation leans into PS1-style visuals in tight industrial spaces like corridors, bunks, and cargo bays, using restrained audio so metal strain and ventilation carry the melancholy of your situation. Mechanically, it's closer to a walking sim with light puzzle elements than survival horror. You'll read entries, root through blocked sections, and follow a timeline that shuffles perspectives while propelling the story to uncomfortable heights. The result is a short, surreal voyage that works through pace and framing as opposed to jump scares. It's the kind of game that, once the credits roll, will live rent-free in your head for quite some time. Number 13, Dread Flats. Dread Flats is a Chinese urban horror set inside of a notorious apartment block where a murder took place and people keep disappearing. A perfect place to sell life insurance. However, you take on the role of an investigator sent into the building to uncover what happened and to find the missing folks, floor by floor, unit by unit. The hallways seem older than the concrete, and neighbors answer doors in unneighborly ways. The superintendent insists everything is normal, which is comforting in the way a handwritten eviction notice is comforting. If management asks, you're here to file a report, not to count how many doors lock from the outside. Play is slow and full of tension. Expect keys, notes, and small puzzles that open new routes. Light is stingy, sounds are discomforting, and simple actions like buzzing a unit or riding the elevator become coin flips between progress and regret. If you haven't dipped your toes into Chinese horror recently, this one will chase you through the halls, spit on you, and call you baby. Number 14, Faith, the Unholy Trinity. This is a retro-styled exorcism horror game inspired by real 1980s satanic panic. You play as Father John Ward, a young priest returning to the site of a failed exorcism in rural Connecticut to finish what was started. What begins as a simple attempt to banish lingering evil unfolds into a far more elaborate battle against cults, possession, and divine rot festering across multiple sites. Each chapter escalates the scope from haunted homes and woodland clearings to secret bunkers and corrupted churches, with narrative threads interwoven through rotoscoped cutscenes and player choices. Visually, the game uses Apple II-era pixel graphics, but it's never quaint. The threat is constant. Possessed figures twist in unnatural bursts of movement, often shrieking or contorting. Some approach slowly, speaking in reversed speech. Others launch themselves at you with no time to react unless your crucifix is already raised. Ritual symbols mark danger zones, and background static often signals that something is watching. You move with stark simplicity, but the world pushes back with cruelty if you miss a sign or ignore a sound cue. Every enemy in Faith looks like it came from a 1980s Christian VHS tape, but fights like a case of aggressive sleep paralysis. Number 15, Crow Country. A shuttered theme park waits just beyond the turnstiles. Faded signage, rides frozen mid-cheer, and a stillness that puts your nerves on a short leash. Crow Country leans hard into PS1-era low-poly charm, then sharpens it with modern lighting and a camera you can freely rotate, so every angle can haunt you. You're here to investigate, and the park rewards nosy players with riddles, contraptions, and odd little side distractions that feel like souvenirs from a weirder decade. Buried beneath the pixelated surface is a very deliberate survival horror. There's scarce ammo and doors that only open when you think like a groundskeeper with a lockbox obsession. If you want a calmer tour, there's an exploration mode that dials the monsters out so you can mainline puzzles in the atmosphere, but if you want the full haunted at closing time experience, survival mode puts the fear back in the dark. Either way, the park's layout slowly clicks together until the map in your head feels as real as the one by the gate. It's good old-fashioned dead fun fare with a living memory. Walk in for the retro sheen, and stay because the exits keep moving around. Number 16, The Mortuary Assistant. Here you are, working the late shift at the Riverfields Mortuary, where you've recently been hired to embalm bodies and assist with standard post-mortem care. What should be a clinical, quiet job turns into a waking nightmare as something demonic begins to infiltrate the facility and you. You're given strict tasks to complete each night. Examine the body, record markings, mix and apply embalming fluids, insert tools, close up the corpse. You know, the usual stuff. But as the shift drags on, reality begins to slide. Doors will move, and the dead start to breathe. And something is watching to see if you make a mistake. Each night is part of a growing ritual, and you have to identify which body is possessed before the wrong spirit becomes a permanent addition. The horror builds through repetition, misdirection, and escalating intrusions. The mortuary feels cold and boxy, all tile and steel, but the spaces shift just enough to make you question your memory. Hallucinations cut in with no warning. You might open a cabinet and find yourself in your old apartment, or walk into the garage and return to a moment you buried. All said and done, the Mortuary Assistant is a unique horror experience, and it'll definitely make you think twice about that job opening at your local funeral home. Number 17. Look Outside. This game takes place in a crumbling apartment block that's been sealed off from the world, if the world even exists anymore. The residents are, well, they're enduring, trapped between rationed light and the suggestion of something watching from beyond the boards. You scavenge room by room, floor by floor, and you must stay moving, because stillness is certain death. Some doors are rigged shut, some open to walls of teeth, and most probably just need to be oiled, and that's bad enough. It's a turn-based horror game where combat is ugly and ruthless. You patch together scrap weapons, hoard burner phones like relics, and piece together what happened by listening to people who rarely get to finish their sentences. You'll meet neighbors with faces half missing and hearts still working, patch up your apartment with plastic sheeting and desperation, and try to outthink things that are far too comfortable in the dark. In Look Outside, the worst part isn't what's waiting out there, it's how much of it is already in here with you. Number 18. MADiSON. You'll awaken in a locked room, wrists caked in blood, with someone hollering just the other side of the door. MADiSON traps you in a cursed house and forces you to carry out an unfinished ritual of mysterious and bloody origins, using only an instant camera that alters reality. A boarded hallway might open if you photograph it, and perhaps something might be standing behind you the second the photo finishes developing. The game never lets you feel safe, and it thrives on the kind of pacing that makes you dread the next locked door as much as the next scare. There's no safe zones and no allies. Exploring happens through winding corridors where every puzzle solved risks triggering something you'll always be happy to see. The camera is your main tool, doubling as a flashlight, a key, and a cruel little mirror to whatever is stalking you. You'll search drawers, rotate objects, and scour photos for inconsistencies, building up a story that's half demonic possession and half family trauma. The lighting is that sparse, flickering PT-esque stuff that we all know and love. Audio design is very intense, from the breath behind your shoulder to the mechanical whir of the Polaroid. MADiSON will keep your adrenaline up throughout its runtime. It certainly isn't subtle, but boy howdy is it relentless. Number 19. Sniper Killer. Sniper Killer flips you between two seats in the same nightmare, the shooter lining up a single public hit and Detective Camardi arriving after, trying to read a scene that just don't sit right. Rooftops, church towers, parade routes, a set of platforms by the tracks. Each location turns into a timing puzzle of sightlines, moving crowds, and a tinny radio that hands you names. You will plan your approach, climb up high, steady the scope, and disappear while the area erupts into sirens and caution tape. Then the view shifts. As the detective, you canvass the same blocks, pull threads from witness chatter and small physical tells, realizing the patterns seem to be arranged for you as much as they're being discovered. Mechanically, it's simple and tense. The sniper chapters reward patience, simple distractions, and clean exits over fancy ballistics. The investigation chapters are directed and fast, pushing you from apartments and basements to rooftops where the chase finally closes the distance. The presentation sits comfortably in PS1 grime and VHS grain, so every light and angle contains a level of nostalgia. The radio's clipped orders keep you moving, the detective's canvassing studies your pulse, and together make the city feel alive, and perhaps you can keep it that way. Number 20. Unknown Tapes. How could I forget about dinosaur horror? Are you kidding me? After a crash, you awaken in the wreckage to slip through chain-linked fences, office parks, and military zones, guided by nothing but your instincts and the chatter of your microphone. You're filming everything, but the camera is also your entire interface. Colors blow out under halogens, and digital smear abounds your vision. You crouch behind desks, slide between storage tanks, and freeze when claws click across the tile somewhere out of sight. Every step forward is a risk, and every breath might be the one that gives you away. There's no map for you, nor any comfort. You move slow, stay low, and learn to throw distractions lest they find you. Dinosaurs hunt by sound and sight, and if your mic is on, your own voice can be the thing that gets you killed. The realism isn't just in the audio, as the game gives way to some memorable visuals from time to time as well. It's short and intimate, with just enough space between chases to wonder how the hell this footage ever made it back in the first place, but I suppose life finds a way.